This is the NVIDIA 1 month overview reading for the month of December 2024. It's currently November 10th, 2024, 10:43 p.m. Eastern Time. NVIDIA at the time of this reading is $147.63. That's USD. The shuffle video for the December reading was created on October 15th, 2024, 2:12 p.m. Eastern Time. In this video, we're going to cover the overall trend direction for the month, as well as any important chart events that take place throughout the month. We're also going to cover the week-by-week chart behavior, timing of the peaks and troughs. Then we're going to get into a review of the previous month's reading to give you an idea of what our accuracy really is like. And we're going to give you one of the best trades that we see for the month. The timing, for the most part, is going to be on point to the day, but there will be some cases where the sequence of events, as outlined in the prediction, will remain accurate, but the day might be off plus or minus a day of wiggle room here or there. In other readings, you won't need a plus or minus wiggle room at all. Point being is that you want to follow the sequence of events as outlined by the prediction. When trading this information, you don't want to use price levels as your entry and exits. This is very important. You want to make sure that you're trading with entry and exits based on chart behavior and general timing, but look for the chart behavior. All of that in this video. Stay tuned to watch the review at the end. The overall theme and behavior for the month, we have sideways fluidity, equal amounts of bulls and bears, inflow and outflow. This usually means, on the scale of like a theme card for 1 month, it usually means like some price swings, and there's an important support level highlighted near the lows. Behavior around the highest high for the month, we have an important peak on a multi-day chart, probably on a 1-year chart scale. Matter of fact, it looks like it's a new high after making significant lows on a multi-day scale. That may be more so going on here. The crossing card being the pleasure card, indicating that there's going to be quite a lot of erratic behavior up and down, back and forth through an important price level on a multi-day scale, probably a 1-year chart scale. And in the midst of that erratic behavior, we'll most likely revisit a crest more than once, and or we'll revisit a trough that was an opportunity more than once. And we'll look at that in more detail. Now, the lowest low significator is the Princess of Discs, and that clearly is indicating an important support level on a 1-year chart scale. So that ties in perfectly with what we've read into thus far. It likely means there's a lot of price change into and or out of the low, and that we probably see sideways rotation near the low. Maybe several times we see the low. It's possible.
The whole purpose of the channel is to transmute some of the competitive energy of the stock market into goodwill. And we do that by following through on the rule of karma, which is a threefold agreement between the universe and anybody utilizing this information for personal gain. There's nothing wrong with utilizing this for personal gain as long as you're simultaneously helping other people to use this. So let's make sure that we follow through on the rule of karma. And the way that we do that, we go to the resources tab of our website, Tarot for Traders, click on resources, and then 5% of any profits from information in this channel should be donated forward to a charity. And you can utilize one of these links right here. It's super easy. You just click and donate. Or if you've got a charity of your choosing, that's cool too. Just make sure you pay it forward. That keeps the flow of abundance going through the universe, and it effectively transmutes competitive energy of the stock market into goodwill. Imagine if everybody was doing that, how much better the world would be. And then 5% of the profit should be donated forward to the channel through one of these links. If you're international, you can use this app Wise. It's very reliable. Or you can use crypto. If you click on the crypto tab, you've got all of these different QR codes. You can donate in a bunch of different cryptos. Really great way to help out the channel. It's the right thing to do. It keeps it interesting, especially because I don't get to trade that often because it takes so much time just to do this information. So this keeps it interesting. It's a way to say thank you. All of that leaves you with 90%, way more than a stockbroker would leave you with. Make sure to spend that money out of love. That's the third fold of the threefold agreement, the rule of karma. As long as you follow those rules, the universe considers you an angel investor of the channel. It's going to send it back to you tenfold for following through. Blessings to all my angel investors. Let's get back into it.
So the week of the 2nd through the 6th, we have a big move to the upside out of an important trough on Monday, probably late in the day, taking us to a peak. And then an important support level highlighted, probably a drop, like we go from this move higher at the beginning of the week into a drop or a trough around the beginning of the day on Wednesday. Then we rally back into a peak somewhere around the 5th, 6th. Also a trough on the 6th. On the 9th, we have a decline to revisit a support level we recently met. Sideways rotation into the 10th, where we have another important trough on a 1-month scale. And then there's a big move to the upside starting out of a decline, taking us from the bottom of the range to the top of the range. And this is a multi-day scale range. The upper end of a range most likely is highlighted. The bottom end of a range and or the upper end of a range on a 1-month scale is most likely highlighted here on the 11th. A lot of volatility on the 12th, and then we attempt to establish support with more sideways rotation towards the end of the week there on the 13th. The third week, the week of the 16th through the 20th, this one starts out really tricky. There's a speaker probably early in the day on Monday. Whatever they're saying, it should be relied upon and trusted, but we have like this failed attempt to break through resistance a little bit later in the day, probably towards the end of the day, a failed attempt to break through key resistance, and then that's followed by a sharp decline. We have two prominent peaks and a prominent trough there on a multi-day scale taking place at the very beginning of the week. We eventually are rallying back into a peak around Thursday, followed by more decline and sideways rotation as we exit the third week. Important trough on a multi-day scale highlighted on the 20th as well. Important trough highlighted on the 23rd within a period of volatility. We've got that half day on the 24th where we'll see a failed attempt to break through key resistance and a decline through key support. Be very careful here, guys. I just did the Apple December reading for Apple, and we have a unicursal hexagram in exactly the same place in the December reading for Apple. So that's indicating a pretty sharp drop in most likely in tech stocks there. Apple, there was some possibility of maybe having to do with some sort of legislation. I'm not so sure about that. I'm not really seeing that so much here in the NVIDIA reading. But what I did pick up on while doing this reading was some clear audience. Words actually came to me, something about a chain reaction. So there's a chain reaction that takes place. Like that probably means multiple stocks end up like with a big move in the same direction, all based on like the same catalyst. NVIDIA is involved in this catalyst. And most likely Apple as well, being that there's that unicursal as well. Anyhow, so a sharp drop. And then we have a rally on the 26th that increases with momentum moving forward into multiple failed attempts to break through key resistance, and then a prominent trough on a multi-day scale at the end of the week there on the 27th. And then we have some pretty significant bullish behavior in those last 2 days, the 30th and the 31st, with a unexpected move to the upside. So even when it seems like the headwinds are going to have us turn around and go south, or technicals are leading us to believe we're going to go south, the futility card brings us higher anyways. So we should see some unusual movement to the upside, or some movement out of scary chart behavior to the upside taking place in January. All right, guys, I'm going to give you one of the best trades that I see for the month of December. But before I do that, let's go ahead and see how we did with the September reading. This one was pretty solid, guys. We have this lowest low there taking place right at the very beginning of the month. It's the lowest low thus far. On the 4th, we go into an even lower low. On the 6th, we go into an even lower low. I nailed all of those lows. That's a lowest low right there. That double X is often the lowest low. And then I wasn't sure if we were going to see it again on the 7th, but most likely it wasn't going to take place on the 7th. Looks like it didn't take place on the 7th. And also the decline on the 7th, offering opportunity to open up a long position, right? That little candlestick wick there at the bottom, opportunity to open up a long position. Anybody following the live Discord trade alerts and live updated trading view charts would have done so, and they would have either closed out of it the very next day, or they would have held it into the 12th or the 13th. Following the trade guidance, this is an example of what you get with the live updated trading view charts, guys. This ellipse was basically an exit point somewhere within here, depending on what your risk tolerance. Would have done it earlier rather than later. That was an exit point after entering in with this Ace of Cups, really solid trade. And then we go from those lowest lows as well. Here on the 6th, we go to a highest high thus far on the 10th. Looks like we're off by 1 day. It ended up being the 11th, but we have another highest high thus far on the 12th, 13th. 12th right there, we nailed that. We were a little bit off on a low here on the 20th. It was a down day, and there was a trough in there, but it didn't end up being a low. But then we get back on point with highest highs here on the 24th, highest high here on the 26th, and then I had a possible highest high on the 30th, off on that last one, but not for long, because it looks obviously we went much higher there. And you can see this is the futility card in action right here with a break. Speaking of a breakout on a multi-day scale, that was the sneak preview. And what do we have here for early October? We have a breakout on a multi-day scale, guys. This was a solid reading, and with really, really good trades. We were off on just a few little things here and there, but even so, the trades weren't impacted. And that's the beauty of SO Meta, is when we're wrong, it's only on like a tiny piece. The remainder of the reading usually remains sound. All right, guys, let's give you one of the best trades I see for December. So it's important to understand that this information is really only for entertainment purposes. Most of the time, these trades are really on point. But if you want to be successful consistently utilizing SO Meta analysis, then you really want to get access to the live Discord trade alerts and live updated trading view charts, because that'll keep you on track. Sometimes the trades are off. Sometimes they're on. Most of the time they're not, but sometimes they're off. So the Discord and the trading view will really help with that. Either way, I'm going to give you the entry here. The entry for this trade is going to take place on the 11th, and the exit for this trade is going to take place on the 13th. Now, before we get into the entry, I want to give you some chart behavior leading into the entry. It's important that you understand, if you don't have the Discord trade alerts and all that, and you insist on trading this, you want to make sure you're looking for this chart behavior leading into the entry point. If the chart behavior that I described leading into the entry point ends up transpiring accurately, then and only then would you enter into this trade. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, so the entry on the 11th, the exit on the 13th. So there should be a significant trough on a multi-day scale there on the 9th. It may not necessarily be a lowest low, but it'll be close there on the 9th. And then we do sideways rotation into the 10th, where we probably revisit a low in the midst of that sideways rotation. And then on the 11th, we have a big move from the bottom of range all the way to the top of range taking place, starting out of a decline or starting out of that sideways rotation, maybe with a slight decline there on the 11th. So when you see that big move from the bottom of the range to the top of a range, when we hit the upper end of the range, that's where you would enter into a short position. You would look to close that short position on the 13th, when we attempt to establish support early in the day on the 13th with sideways rotation. If that doesn't end up being a good exit, the backup exit would be on the 20th. I wouldn't wait for it. I would only use it if it's necessary. And if you miss that, I would probably do the 20th or bust. And with that said, that's NVIDIA for December 2024. If you want the timing of the highest highs and the lowest lows, that's all part of the monthly access subscription, as well as all of the best trades that I see throughout the month, and the access to the Discord trade alerts and live updated trading view charts. All of that, guys, if you want that, I'll show you how to get that in just a minute. Make sure to hit that like button. And if you like this stuff, guys, please subscribe. Helps out the channel. Most importantly, make sure to follow that rule of karma. The way that you get the monthly access subscription, you go to our website, Tarot for Traders, hover over order now, click on subscriptions, subscribe here to the monthly access. It's $300 a month. Gets you access to the paid version of all of these tickers and the S&P 500, as well as live Discord trade alerts and live updated trading view charts where we draw entry and exits for those trades for any and all of these tickers, my friends. Much love and appreciation to everybody that goes ahead and does that. Much love and appreciation to everybody that doesn't do that. Blessings to all my angel investors. I'll see you guys on the next one.